Welcome back to the Colorado Victim Advocate Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Intervention Inc. We are a Colorado-based nonprofit organization created in 1986, providing a range of services in the criminal justice system here in Colorado. We are actually celebrating our 40th year anniversary, which has always been a wonderful thing for us here at Intervention. Our podcast, we highlight the wonderful and necessary work of the Colorado victim advocacy community, and we bring awareness to the survivors and victors of violence. We are going to discuss the success of one of the most recent family justice centers here in Colorado. As we discussed earlier, these centers began in California and have been a lifeline and needed development in the response to providing advanced advocacy for victims of crime. While many of these justice centers began with providing services to domestic violence victims only, the most recent centers have expanded their services to include victims of sexual violence, stalking, human trafficking, at-risk adults, and crimes against children. These justice centers have created a haven for victims by combining assistance agencies, both government and nonprofit, under one roof and collaborating on strategies to assist victims of crime. Our very special guest today on the Colorado Victim Advocate Podcast is Candace Cooledge. She is the Executive Director of PorchLIght Family Justice Center here in Jefferson County. So welcome, Candace.
Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations on 40 years. That's incredible.
Yeah, we always say when it's 40, it's like, wow, that's a long time for a nonprofit agency.
Yeah,
so
that's
yes,
great.
We're very happy that we've been around this long and been as successful as we have. We always have been saying recently, let's look forward to the next 40 years. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I can say I'll be here, but you never know. But so again, welcome, Candace. Appreciate you being here. Now, just a little bit of transparency. I remember when Candace and I first met a few years ago, and she was telling me about PorchLIght and how this vision was going to be taking shape. And now look where you are today. And so tell me a little bit about PorchLIght and just, the programming that you have there.
Yeah, great. I think when we met, you maybe like other people, I think people thought I was crazy. Like, you're really going to bring all these agencies together in one place. And it's just, operating in just a different way than we have in the past. And I had learned about the model, and I was a prosecutor when we met.
Yes, I remember.
I've been a prosecutor for a long time, and just saw what victims went through. And to me, that was a lot. And telling someone that they have to go to 8-10 different places in the community to get the support that they need when they've been through something traumatic was just really burdensome. We're lucky that we have amazing agencies here in our community.
And that's just an important piece too, that I don't think a lot of people realize, that when a victim of crime, especially a domestic violence victim, they have to really try to figure out this puzzle that you and I have been working in for so long. And you can see where their frustration comes in, and having to talk to all these different agencies. Sometimes that could take a very long time. And so you talked a little bit about that, but what are some of the agencies that you have there at PorchLIght?
Yeah, so we have over 20 agencies all working together to support survivors of crime. For example, Family Tree, their domestic violence program, is at PorchLIght for advocacy for domestic violence survivors, but also to help survivors get a protection order, a civil protection order, which we do virtually from PorchLIght. So virtual court is
great,
amazing. Another very important program that we have is childcare. So before, people had to worry about what they were going to do with their kids when they go to these 10 different agencies and tell their story 10 times and to 10 different people, and are the children going to have to be there and listen to all of the things that they have to talk about. So at PorchLIght, we have childcare. So folks don't have to worry about getting childcare for their kids. They can bring their kids to PorchLIght. Their children will be watched in our childcare center while they're receiving the services that they need.
That's incredible, to talk about that. And with regards to just, the collaboration that you do, and the work that you do, how much do victims have to pay for any of these services?
Nothing. It is no cost to we're very intentional about calling those we serve our guests, because we really want the space to be warm, welcoming, inviting space. So our guests never have to pay for any of the services at PorchLIght. That's an important agreement in our MOUs with our partner agencies, is that they won't charge the guest, unless there is one service, which is medical, that there could be a small cost that we try to cover.
Oh, okay. So. Okay. Well, that is incredible that you have all those services like that. I mean, does somebody need an appointment or anything like that, or do you walk-ins, or how does that work?
Yeah, so no appointment necessary. I didn't want there to be another barrier to getting services. So we are a walk-in center Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. Anyone who's been a victim of any of the crimes that you mentioned can come to PorchLIght and receive services. And it does not have to be a crime that's been reported. Okay, and because that's obviously an important piece too, is that a lot of times victims will think that, it has to be a reported crime in order for services to occur, and that's really important. And you just talked about, if we can kind of go back to that just for a moment, if somebody doesn't need an appointment and they're walking, I mean, kind of how does that process work? I mean, from walking into the door, because as you know, or as you've worked with those folks who've been victims of crime, they're under a lot of stress, they're in trauma, and walking into some place that they might not know anything about, kind of give me an idea as to how that would work. Yeah, excellent question. So what happens is, when folks walk in for services, they are going to fill out one form, whereas before...
That's incredible.
Right?
That's incredible. Wow.
For 20 different agencies.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So they'll fill out one form, just giving us their basic demographic information. And then what they'll do is they'll meet with one of my staff, PorchLIght staff. So PorchLIght has 11 staff members. We have 3 what we call navigators. 2 are bilingual in English and Spanish. And so they'll meet with that navigator, and that's the person that they're going to talk about their situation with. And then that person our navigators are really resource experts, in the sense that they know all of our partner agencies. Now we have 20 on-site partners, but we have many, many more off-site partners. Such as intervention. And so they really understand the jurisdiction requirements, the income requirements of all of these partner agencies, so that when they're talking with someone, they can say, you know what, after listening to your situation and what you're looking to accomplish, I think these 4 agencies, 5 agencies, however many agencies can help you, and they're going to be appropriate connections. Whereas before, we had survivors tell us, I called 100 different phone numbers and still didn't end up with that right connection or the right resource. So after the navigator has identified the partner agencies, they will then go to the other part of our building and meet with the partner agency that can provide that next service. So say the person wants a protection order. They're going to go meet with Family Tree, and they're going to talk to them about the situation. The navigator will, so that the guest doesn't have to tell their story over and over and over again. It's the navigator that's relaying the information, and then we'll bring Family Tree into the room to provide that resource, and so on and so forth. And so that's really, the navigator is really the connector to the different agencies and support for that survivor.
And in doing so, when somebody's talking about that, about all the pieces that might be, because as we know with domestic violence or with any crime, there's so many different pieces to that, and because a lot of times when victims are talking about that, they're still in their trauma. How are your staff able to work with somebody who is in trauma still? I mean, because a lot of times too, I can recall my own days of working with victims like that. A lot of times they're going to be telling you just about everything, and you're trying to get the most important information from them right up front, but you want to do it in a way that's very respectful. And how does your staff work with somebody like that who is still in trauma?
Yeah. So our navigators are very, very skilled advocates. They have trauma-informed training, and so they really do understand how to talk to the guest in a way that does bring out that important information in a way that's trauma-informed. because it can be very, very difficult. And as you mentioned, they really want to get to the information that's important for resources, to get them connected with the right resources. And so they have a lot of training, but also ongoing training in all of the fields for all of the different victimizations that we serve.
And all of those different victimizations that you serve, because, you know, looking at, you know, your information on your website and a lot of your programming information, I mean, how do you get that information out there? Because most people would associate a family justice center with just DV, or with just domestic violence. How do you get that information out there that you can provide assistance to victims of human trafficking? Because that is obviously very different than domestic violence, other than the fact that it's power and control. How would you get that information out there to let people know you can provide services to victims of crime that are not domestic violence victims?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And we do that in several different ways. We partner with organizations that support those different victimizations, and they are providing that information to folks that contact them. So for example, human trafficking organizations that we partner with, when folks call in, they're able to direct them to PorchLIght. But also we partner with law enforcement in Jefferson County, and all of the law enforcement officers know that we serve a lot more than domestic violence. And so whenever they go out on a scene, they're making sure to provide information about PorchLIght, not only the law enforcement officers, but also the victim advocates that respond to crime with the law enforcement officers.
And in doing so, do you have like law enforcement officers there at your facility, at your center?
We do. We have members of the Lakewood Police Department, their family crimes team, present at PorchLIght full time.
Oh, okay.
And we also have investigators from the district attorney's office, and we also have space for members of Arvada, Wheat Ridge, Golden, and the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office at PorchLIght.
And in doing so, having all those agencies there, how I don't want to use that phrase, but how do you herd all those together? I mean, how do you bring all those folks together, you know, with the goals and objectives of your agency of like, this is the work that we do, this is the focus that we have, and yet you have all these different agencies that might have a different role as well. And it's like, obviously with intervention here, you know, we provide victim services on post-conviction level, you know, that is say through probation or community corrections. But, you know, how do you have all those agencies like Servicios and Family Tree that might have a little bit of a different focus than what PorchLIght has? I mean, how do you bring all those together? I mean, do you meet with those folks? Do you have like a group meetings and things of that sort?
Absolutely. So every Wednesday morning, once a week, we have just a short on-site partner meeting. It's from 8 to 8:30, a really short meeting, but also it's a time when we all really connect and understand what's going on in the center. We are able to understand agency updates, what's going on in each of the different agencies. Our agency's full this week, but have, you know, might have capacity next week, so that way our navigators can really go into those navigation meetings with all of the most current information. And then the agencies really do learn about each other in those meetings. It's just really a great time for connection and collaboration, because collaboration is huge in a family justice center, whereas before, you know, we were all in our silos, just doing our work on our own, right? And not really, I mean, as a prosecutor, I would hope that a survivor has connected with a certain agency, or but I would never really know. But now we are able to talk to each other every day and be able to ensure that we are wrapping survivors in appropriate services and learning a lot about each other.
Sure.
Right?
And in doing so, I mean, how many folks would you like a typical day or an average day where you would be seeing, you know, with guests coming into your center?
Yeah, so when we first opened, we just opened in 2021,
Mm-hmm.
and when we first opened, we were seeing about 7 guests a day. We are up to anywhere between 18 to 20 guests a day.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
And in doing so, I mean, to ask the basic question, I mean, is it just, your typical Monday through Friday kind of hours, that kind of thing?
Yes, we are Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30.
Mhm.
But if folks need help outside those hours, we do list on our website and on our phone voicemail the 24/7 hotlines
Okay.
that they can call, just depending on the circumstance, be it human trafficking or sexual assault or domestic violence. There are different hotlines for each of those.
And whenever you have a case like this coming in, a lot of times, or a guest coming in like this, a lot of times there's always the issue that we work through with regards to, or that we try to attempt to work through, is with regards to housing and shelter. Now, that's not something that PorchLIght does, but you do have avenues to assist. Is that correct?
Exactly. And I'll tell you, housing is so difficult right now for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really tough issue. We do partner with organizations that can help try to locate housing. But it's really difficult.
Sure.
Some agencies, and again, those meetings every week are really important to find out who may have rental assistance this week,
Mm-hmm.
who is out of funding for rental assistance. But also, we have our shelter list, just like some of our partner agencies, and we'll go through that list with survivors to try to find an appropriate place for the survivor. But it's not easy.
And another thing that is not easy too is because, as we know, here in Colorado, obviously, pet care is very important. And in fact, we even, changed some of our laws to include, pets as part of any type of protection order or something like that. Do you have collaboration with any type of animal rescue center?
That's a great question. So Foothills Animal Shelter is on site at PorchLIght.
Oh, great.
And we do that for several reasons. They provide our guests with lots of supplies for their pets, vouchers for vaccines, spaying and neutering.
Okay.
But also, we know that when somebody's trying to leave a dangerous situation and they have a pet, pets are family.
Yes.
And sometimes they can't take their pet where they need to go to be safe, but they don't want to leave their pet with the abuser.
Yes.
So Foothills Animal Shelter will shelter the pet at no cost to the guest until they can safely reunite, so that they can get out of that dangerous situation and ensure that their pet is safe. And those happen at PorchLIght.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, so the guest
Do you have folks that have brought in pets at the same time?
We do.
Wow.
And we are pet friendly at PorchLIght, so.
Oh, good. It's always good to know that right up front. That's good. That's
Exactly.
good.
So our guests, when they are going to take advantage of that program,
Mhm.
they can bring the pet to PorchLIght, and then Foothills will come and take the animal from PorchLIght, so they don't have to worry about where is the animal shelter, how do
Sure.
I get there, what are the hours. So they do that right at PorchLIght. But we also, we have some guests that will bring their dog to their therapy appointment, and we are
Mhm.
good with that. We are, like I said, pet friendly as long as they're appropriate for the work environment. We also have therapy dogs that come to PorchLIght.
I was just going to ask you that. You actually are able to provide therapeutic services there at your facility at the center?
Yes, we do have therapy for adults and for children. We're going to break the cycle of violence. We're going to do it with the kids. We believe that strongly. And so we do have child therapists through our partner Jefferson Center for Mental Health.
They are also there too?
They are on site.
Oh, okay. Great.
And then we also have another nonprofit organization called Zero Tolerance for Domestic Abuse that have an adult therapist on site at PorchLIght as well.
And that service in and of itself right there, that is also no cost, or do they go through crime victim compensation program?
Yes, so several different ways. They can go through crime victim compensation or Medicaid or insurance, whichever. But if they are uninsured, the providers find a way to help those guests.
And in doing so, having all of these services available, which is really great. Obviously, that's something that, the domestic violence advocacy community has always been moving towards. And it sounds, incredible that you have all these services. Well, what do you see as some of the obstacles that you need to work on, as part of the work that you do?
Yeah, so we kind of talked about it a little bit before, and that's housing.
Sure.
That whenever I talk to my navigators and I say, all right, how we doing? What do we need? Because I'm trying to fill gaps, and it's always housing. We need support for survivors for housing. That has been something that we've been searching for a housing navigator or somebody to even just talk to survivors about housing in Colorado.
And in doing so, in addition to that, because yes, obviously housing is very important with regards to community involvement and having an understanding, because as well as I do, domestic violence has always been, or at least misunderstood in some areas. I mean, is this something that PorchLIght goes out into the community and talks about, at different locations or anything?
Yes, I will talk anywhere I'm invited. So I've talked at churches, at Rotary clubs, at Kiwanis clubs, and like I said, anywhere that I am requested to go, pretty much I'll go, and because I think the education is really important. Education about PorchLIght, so that folks know you don't have to Google and dial 100 numbers, right? If you know about PorchLIght, you just come to PorchLIght or call, and we will get you connected to the appropriate agencies in the community.
And that's really good too. I certainly like what you said, dial, because I'm not sure people dial anymore. I still say that too. I still say, do I have an answering machine? That kind of a thing. But I think that's important too, because also with geographics, can only folks who are in Jefferson and Gilpin County be assisted through your agency, or is it something the whole metro area people can come to you?
That's a really good question. So technically we are the first judicial district, which is Jefferson and Gilpin County's Family Justice Center. However, we don't turn people away. We know that our service is very unique. We have a lot of metro area providers on site at PorchLIght, as well as statewide providers. So we are able to assist others that are not Jefferson or Gilpin County.
Now, I know our agency, whenever we have a question, like I said, we're in post-conviction world here at probation or community corrections. A lot of the questions that we get asked, that we refer to you, and I'd like you to, as we get ready to close this out, because one of the most important questions that we always have is, they'll contact us and they'll say, well, I'd like to get my criminal case is getting ready to close out, and I'd like to continue my protection order. And you talked a little bit about that earlier with regards to a civil protection order, but you do that virtually. How does that work? How are you able to get that accomplished? Because again, I always tell people, back in the bad old days, when I was an advocate in Adams County, it was, you had to come to court, and we had two sessions, one at 11 o'clock and one at 3 o'clock. And, they had to be there for those. I mean, how does that work now?
Yeah, good question. We are very grateful for our relationship with the Jefferson County Court. So and that's one caveat about other jurisdictions. We partner with Jefferson County for that process. So we aren't able to do virtual protection orders for maybe someone from Denver or Adams County, if that's where they need to get their protection order. But Jefferson County has been wonderful in working with us and Family Tree, our partner that helps with those protection orders. And so the process, really, we had the agreement with the court before COVID, but COVID just made it a lot easier because all of the judges had to get used to WebEx and had to do things.
Well, there's something good that came out of COVID.
Exactly.
And so you're actually having the guests that they're actually having court session there at your facility right then and there?
That's correct.
Wow.
Yep.
That's incredible. And in doing so, is that just for because obviously, in court world, you have to get the initial temporary order, then come back for the permanent order. Is it the same thing too for the permanent order? They can come to the facility as well?
It is not, unfortunately, but we keep asking the court if we could do permanent protection order hearings from PorchLIght. That would make things so much more trauma informed for the guests. So that's not something that is currently permitted, but it's something we continue to try to work on with the court.
And and in talking about all the services you have, because I believe you said you were in your 6th year, is that correct? Or 5th year?
5th year.
5th year. That's a great milestone too, because obviously just continuing the work that you do. But I asked this question to the folks at Rosandom, and I want to ask you too as well. Where do you see PorchLIght in 10 years?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, I would really love to expand our children's programming. Rosandom has a program called Camp Hope America, and that's where children are able to go to camp for a week, and then they have a mentor throughout the year following that camp, and it's therapeutic, and they it's just an amazing program that we know that they grow up to be camp counselors themselves.
Oh, okay.
And I would love to have that program. We are doing it in combination with, in partnership with the Rosandom Center, so our kids can go to camp with kids from Rosandom, but I would really like to build that out with not only Camp Hope, but also some of their children's programming.
Okay, and that's obviously just something, again, you kind of work towards, and looking at that, what do you see as a way to, how would you approach something like that to expand it or to start it at your agency at PorchLIght?
I think the first step would be to hire a person who their responsibilities are the child programming.
Okay, certainly. And just looking at that, I mean, in addition to that, I mean, is there something else, with regards to bringing more awareness to PorchLIght, within Jefferson County, or is this something that you say, we're really good where we are right now? We've got a lot of really great collaboration, but obviously we can do more.
Yeah, exactly. I really, my goal is to have PorchLIght be that household name that everyone knows. And we're not there yet. I talk to a lot of groups that don't know about us and haven't heard about us. And so really ensuring that all of the community knows who we are and what we do, so that they don't have to wonder what to do when something happens. That's something that I would really like to see happen.
Now, I have to ask you this question, because I haven't asked this to any of the other podcast guests that I've had. How did you make the transition from being a prosecutor to an executive director of a nonprofit?
That's a really good question. It's a little terrifying.
Okay. I mean, because obviously, working, in the legal community, I mean, that's very, directed, it's very focused, but yet with a nonprofit, sometimes here at Intervention we say, we put the non in nonprofit. So, but how was that transition for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was difficult. It's definitely a lot of different skill sets than a prosecutor. I read a lot of books on nonprofits.
Okay. Yeah, I always tell people when people ask me that, because I worked in the system as well for a long time, and they were like, how did you make that, transition into nonprofits? And I'm like, yeah, I read a lot of books too, and I went to school and everything else. So
the books, and also I feel so fortunate to have had so many amazing mentors in the executive directors of nonprofits that we partnered with were
good, of course,
amazing, and still are, in helping to really mentor and guide me and teach me. They and still to this day are amazing. Like I said, we have amazing resources in our community, but the people that work in those nonprofits are fantastic and have provided me such invaluable training that I couldn't have done it without them. And then also being able to surround myself with folks that are just incredible. They make me look good.
That's always a good way to kind of close out, a little bit here. So that's always a good thing. But certainly want to thank you, Candace, for being a part of our podcast here. It's truly amazing to have seen this project, because I remember the very, very first time when we had the giant meet and greet at your facility, and I think I still have one of the coffee mugs here. But I think that's really great as to see where you've come within 5 years, because it really is an amazing process too. One of our previous podcasts was with the folks in Montrose, and they created a housing program specifically to respond to the things that you were talking about. And same thing too, they're going through a lot of the same situations that you are, but staying with the same goal. And so obviously just having you here today has been certainly a pleasure to have you here today with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Randy. This has been amazing. This has been great to chat with you.
Absolutely, appreciate it. And if you'd like more information about PorchLIght and the services that they provide, please go to PorchLightFJC.org or call them at 720-853-8850. Intervention, we provide direct offender supervision and support for those justice-involved folks sentenced to probation or community corrections. In addition, we also provide pretrial monitoring, useful public service, and comprehensive victim services. For more information about intervention, you can visit us at our website at www.int-cjs.org. The Colorado Victim Advocate Podcast can be found on Spotify or on our YouTube channel, and we hope you join us for another episode. And I always like to close out by saying, as victim advocates, we are nouns, we are subjects, we are verbs, and we are adjectives. And I want to thank everybody for listening today.